Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to go over an article titled, When It Comes to Marriage, Generation Z More Likely to Say, I Don't. And guys, this whole article is about some research that's been done talking to the Generation Z folks. These are kids, late teens, early 20s now, that pretty much, with regards to the subject of marriage, an alarmingly percentage of them aren't interested in marriage. They simply don't see it as a necessity. Okay? And as you can imagine, hearing this is music to my ears, that the younger generation really is waking up that is not what it's cracked up to be and what so many people have been sold on. Because most guys, because this is a men's channel, get married in their 20s and they don't know shit about life. They're barely out of college and experience much of the world. Probably have barely been paying their own bills and things like that very long. And they get hitched and it's a big disaster. And just, statistically, according to this article, it's going to say like 40 to 50% of couples in America get divorced. I know it's a lot higher than that, but still, it's like more than one out of every two couples that get married are going to get divorced. That's nuts. But people keep doing it. But now, more and more, the generations are realizing this is just a bunch of crap. It's not worth it. And a lot of people have been talking about the millennial generation, that group, how obviously they've been putting off marriage a lot later in life, or they're not doing it all together. But the the Generation Z, even more than the millennials, don't want to do this because they understand they obviously have grown up in households, single-parent households, or households where the parents got divorced and it was an unpleasant situation, and they don't want to be like that. But also, for at least guys, they're realizing, they're understanding finally, thanks to YouTube and books and things like that, they're learning more about female nature that is just not going to work, So they're more interested in just simply dating and hooking up, or at least relationships, but nothing, that is recognized by the law, by the government. And again, also you got young guys, and I've read articles about this, and I've done videos about this, that simply are just interested in dating it altogether. They'd rather focus on themselves. So I'm going to go through this article, guys. You'll see what I'm talking about here. Starts out saying, eager eyes watching the bride in all white. Sentimental vows to be shared. A sweet union of two. The ceremony couples undergo to vow to one another for life is losing its popularity. New research reveals that younger generations are more devoted to the success of their professional lives than they are to building a family. Only 44% of millennials between the ages of 23 to 38 were married in 2019. Marriage rates are plummeting, and at the speedy rate of the decline, it is predicted that about 25% of millennials will never be married. This will be an all-time low, according to a Pew Research Center. 25%. That is huge, guys. I don't know if many of you guys realize just how big that is, because back in the day, pretty much everybody got married. I mean, it's night and day. But what about the preceding generation, where the oldest members are now reaching their 20-somethings? Are they going to increase the rate, being unwedded? Generation Z has a hope to get married, but they don't find it to be a necessity. The question is, why? Why do the tech-savvy young adults view marriage as a non-necessity? Well, I can think of a few reasons. How about the fact that they can see, based on I don't know anybody in this day and age at all that doesn't have at least one family member that's been through a divorce. Okay? And they've seen what either he or she have gone through with that. And it's a big, exhausting, sad mess. So why the hell do they want to go through that same bullshit? Seriously, it's a no-brainer. Or a lot of these young kids, guys and girls, again, they grew up in a household where the parents were married, and then there was fighting and conflict, and they get divorced, and they see what they went through. They see how unhappy the parents were. So they figure, why do I want to go through this bullshit, And they observe other family members. Also, this generation, obviously, is the tech-savvy generation. They watch things on YouTube. I'm not the only game in town. There's plenty of other channels that talk about these things. And you got people talking about just how much of a mess it is. It's not worth it. Guys don't want to go into it and then lose half of what they've worked so hard for, and potentially lose their house, their car, their kids, all that for love. Give me a goddamn break. Doesn't happen. Rather, they're going to focus on themselves, on their purpose, on their goals, making themselves happy. And a lot of them do relationships, but that's it. And so I can just see more as time goes on, This is how it's going to be, okay? It's going to be a lot more like in parts of Europe where just simply a lot of people, they get together, but they don't get married. And oftentimes a lot of them have kids together, but again, they don't get married. They don't get the government involved. And obviously when people aren't married, they're on their best behavior in terms of if you do relationships, because both parties know darn well that the other person can just be gone like that. If the other one gets out of line, gains a bunch of weight, starts treating with disrespect, they're gone. But when you're married, when you're legally bound and have the government involved, yeah, you can split, but it's going to be at a major cost to you. But then that's also why I tell you guys don't move in, because then there's the cohabiting. And then, again, if you live with somebody so long, depending on where you live in the world or what state you are here in the US of A, it'll be considered common law marriage. And again, you can lose a big bunch of your shit. So if you're going to do relationships, okay, but just don't get married and don't move in with the person. I think the whole world is going to be quite different in 20 years how it is right now. And I'm going to do my damnedest to help guys not have to make the mistakes that the rest of us made earlier in life. All right, goes on. This is the group that grew up watching cultural shifts within gender roles and social equality. 1/3 of those in this target group grew up in a household where their parents had children before they got married, according to Pew. That's another one. Generation Z is used to unconventional living, so their unorthodox views on marriage follow suit. And then one guy is being quoted saying, "I just feel like marriage has been historically a way to just sell off women and wives," says Salem Banks. Well, that's a very Generation Z thing for him to say, but I'm going to leave him alone today. I normally like to poke fun at the Millennials and Generation Z for a number of reasons. It's the woke generation, but because of this article, I'm giving him a verbal high five for this knowledge, so I'll let it go. But what he just said, that's a very Generation Z thing to say. And now you don't really need to get married unless it's for financial reasons. Other than that, if you're together, then you're together. Exactly. Why the hell do you got to get married? Banks, 20, says he could see himself getting married one day, but he doesn't think that's something he needs to validate his relationship. He wants a lifelong partner, but he doesn't need the label. Well, he's a guy. And that doesn't mean that the women are going to see that way. The odds are more it's going to be women that are going to be the ones that want to get a dude to marry them, because again, it's not hard for, you get a woman that is a 6 in the looks and body type department, and believe me, in her prime, in her 20s, she can still get plenty of guys. But it's more of a status symbol for her if she can get a guy to actually commit to her and get married. And it's not hard for a average looking woman to get laid plenty of times, but a good looking woman, a woman that's 8 or above, I mean, it's a no-brainer. They can get guys lining up around the block to sleep with her, but to get a guy to actually commit to her, so a lot of women want that, whether they want to admit that or not, and of course the family and all that shit that's sold in the movies and TV, but you want the guys to wake up to this so they don't get sucked into this. According to a survey taken among college students in Tallahassee, this is a popular sentiment for most Generation Z. They want a lifelong partner, but they don't want to get the government involved, setting their marriage in stone. Very wise. Can we attribute their fear of government involvement to the rise in divorce rates? Absolutely. About 40 to 50% of married couples in the United States divorce, according to the American Psychological Association. Yeah, well, that number is a lot higher than that, actually. There's a quote saying, "It makes young people today less secure in the idea of committing to and being in a lasting marriage." UVA psychology professor Robert Emery said in UVA magazine. Much of the rise in cohabitation as an alternative to marriage is actually an alternative to divorce. If you never make a commitment, you're never going to get divorced. Zenzele Thomas, 22, views marriage by law as a hindrance because of the risk of divorce. He says, marriage by law is relatively unnecessary. Thomas said, you lose a lot of benefits. For example, if your children go to school, it may be easier to get financial aid if they only claim one parent. Similarly, if you are no longer in good terms with your partner, you must involve the law to be able to separate. See? On the other hand, if you are just simply in a relationship, but you're not married, you're not living together, and there's any issues you want to break up, you break up. At best, you just get a box and put the stuff they keep at your place, your apartment, your house, your condo, their toothbrush and their other stuffs, put in a box and say, here you go. Wish you the best. End of story. But people that are together, you know, you always hear about Hollywood. And all these couples get together and they have like multiple spouses over the years. And a lot of times they do it obviously to help their careers. But they're always getting divorced. And it goes to show that celebrities don't know jack shit just like the rest of us, that, you know, and make the same mistakes. But sometimes these couples, these Hollywood couples that don't get married, they're just together, they're the ones that last a while. Isn't that interesting? Because both of them are on their best behavior. And both of them know at any moment the other one could take off. So you're going to be on your best behavior. Makes sense to me. It continues. On top of paying court fees, there are cases where a partner turns out to be grimy and will intentionally fight to take things of yours and they don't even own. Having children while getting a divorce is also stressful for everyone and can potentially be damaging to the child. You're damn right. The kids can just see all the tension in the house and the fighting and carrying on. You know, you grew up with that, you're going to seriously think twice about making the same mistake that mom and dad did. Or some people think that they're gonna actually seek out a good relationship, and get married because they can then make up for what they lost as a child. Well, oftentimes it doesn't work out that way. Having apprehension about divorce is rational in this climate, considering all the struggles that could possibly come with it, such as financial instability, family discord, and the emotional distress of the child if the couple bore them. The future of marriage is uncertain, but whether it is because of cultural changes or fear of divorce, Generation Z may contribute to the drastic fall in marriage rates. Our generation is under the illusion that marriage is an institution of love, when in fact, it is a business practice, Thomas said. Very well said. Again, I mean, it is a business deal. Absolutely. And that business deal works out the best for the woman as things are today, especially with the laws. You know, they get married, and basically the guy's part of the deal is obviously he's there to provide or help provide and be the father and all that. And at the end of the day, regardless of how so many women obviously have professional degrees and professional jobs and do well, make money, still, no matter what, I don't care what anybody says, the guy's still expected to provide, no matter what. Okay? That guy provides. That's part of his part of the deal. He provides, he's a father, blah, 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 blah. And essentially, the woman's job, aside from being a mom to some kids, is to fuck your husband. End of story. But what happens when people eventually get married? Is all the same sex that once was going on prior to saying I do continue on? Statistically, no way. Maybe in the honeymoon period, you know, in the beginning, or until she gets pregnant, but then it drops. And people start letting themselves go, gaining weight, stop taking care of each other, stop taking care of themselves, stop dating one another, all that, and you got your stereotypical, boring, unhappy, shitty marriage. Am I saying they're all like that? Absolutely not. But even the best marriages have a lot of the stereotypes in them. Okay? And if that's not for you, if you don't want that, simply don't get married. Be single. Again, this is a men's channel, so I'm speaking to guys here. If you enjoy having different girlfriends and dating and hooking up with women, keep doing it. Okay? Just don't, you know, and even if you want to do an exclusive relationship, okay. If you are the type that's a serial monogamist, if you will, and that makes you happy, okay. But it doesn't mean you got to get married and don't live with them, because again, the common law marriage type of laws, depending on where you live in the world or what state you live in, just be aware of all that. Understand what you're getting into before you go ahead and jump in and do it because you feel like you're in love. But again, things have changed, guys. And it's great to hear. I'm really happy to hear that. And again, I'm doing my part to help out, warn young guys that don't make the same mistake. Because, guys, you know, I can only do so many videos a day. I can only do so many articles a day to make videos of them and go over certain emails from people and stories and all that. But you wouldn't believe the stories I get. I get tons of emails a day from guys all over the world telling me their story. And they're so common. They're so unhappy because the mistakes they made in their 20s, getting hitched, doing all that, and what happened to them? These are guys that are either in a shitty marriage right now, or guys have been through it, or guys have done it a couple times, which I get the fuck up doing it the first time because you don't know any better, but if you do it twice, you're out of your damn mind. You're the only one to blame in that area. So this is really good to hear. I wanted to share that with you because it's good news to hear on a Friday. All right, guys, that is it for today. Happy Halloween for tomorrow. I may do some videos. I may not. I may relax and take the day off. Who the hell knows? But that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below and be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.